Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, bring you guys awesome interviews. Today it is an honor and privilege to have Mr. Rikk Cavin. He's the drummer of Jason Voorhees. They have a album that's out right now called Horror Edge, and they're a hardcore band plus, horror music, stuff like that. They have a horror punk. This is actually a really cool little album that they've got out right now. So Rikk, how's it going?
It's good. How are you doing, John?
Doing awesome. Glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Let's jump right into this. So, Horror Edge. What's impressed you the most about making this new album that's out right now? What's caught your eye or impressed you the most about it?
So, I think what's, impressed me the most on it is that it actually happened. Originally, Jason Voorhees was supposed to be a studio project that was only going to be like a one EP type of thing, and this is our second release. When we were writing this album, we were also, setting up shows, and I had to, go through the slew of finding, different members because, like I said, originally it was a studio project. So I'm just proud that it actually happened. For those who don't know, I also formerly played drums in a band called They Feed at Night, and so this was my side project. And just the fact that we were able to do any of it is really, really humbling, and I'm really proud of myself and my bandmates for helping me through to write this album.
I'm a huge horror fan. How did the name Jason Voorhees come up about, and why use that name for a band? Because I know a lot of folks out there, are using this, but let's get your intake on this.
The reason I used Jason Voorhees was at the time, I don't know if you're familiar with the band The Jasons. Yep. I had recently found them on Facebook, and they're fun. They're very campy, kind of Ramones-ish horror punk. And at the time, I was like, I want something heavier. I want to find something that's not super campy within the horror punk genre. And so I was listening to that, and I also, was watching Freddy vs. Jason at around the same time. So I was like, there should be a straight-edge hardcore band called Jason with an X in the middle, Voorhees. And, I figured out from there, I found some bandmates, and the rest is history, as they say. So Friday the 13th as a series isn't my top favorite horror franchise. It's definitely up there for me. So I took all that influence. I'm a huge horror fan. I'm a huge horror punk fan. So that's pretty much how it happened.
What is your favorite horror franchise? Mine's the original Halloween. That's mine. Mine
is actually the Collector and the Collection. Those are my two favorite horror films. But I also have a huge respect for the first and the fourth Scream movies. The second and the third were kind of unnecessary in my opinion. But to get that fourth one, totally validates those two movies for me.
And the Jasons are pretty damn awesome, man. They're an awesome band, but I like their antics. I mean, they're breaking up every show. They're always complaining.
Oh yeah.
Like, we're done.
I've seen some of their videos, and they do some funny shit. Like I like that they have a video where they were doing a Misfits cover show, but they played all their songs as if they were Ramones songs. Yeah. And I just thought that was brilliant. So, I mean, they know what they're doing and for what they're doing. But as I said, I at that moment, I was listening to them and I'm like, I want something heavier, grittier. So I, took the concept of horror punk the parts that I enjoy, and then also put it into, the hardcore, metalcore realm as well.
How was working with Chris Hopkins at Earthbound Recordings on this album?
It was good. I had been a fan of Chris's work prior to working with us. He does a lot of the local punk bands that I grew in high school, was playing with or playing shows with, because my band would play with them. So I really appreciate his help in really helping us get that sound that we wanted out of the album. Yeah, it was great, and he's a great guy, a real cool dude. I would, sit there, we'd put all the tracks down, and then after a little while, I went back and put in all the clips and the keyboard parts and things like that, all the little accessories, So it was really good working with him. I really appreciate his help.
Any songs off the Horror Edge album that are standing out more to you than any on it, if possible?
Ooh, personally, I think the crowd pleaser for us is there's a song, it's in acronyms on the album, but it's called What's Your Favorite Scary Movie? And that one's about Scream. So that one's definitely one that stands out to me. And then a song called Shang Tsung Wins is definitely one of the more favorites of mine because lyrically, it's, the other movies are kind of based around horror films. That one's more of a poem that I, used as a song and then made it make sense with, like a Mortal Kombat reference. So, and then just the music, playing those songs are probably the two of the more fun ones that I enjoy playing live.
How much growth musically have you seen Jason Voorhees go through since the formation, or has it just been more a personal growth for each of you guys?
Oh, I would say it's definitely both. Like I said, when we started as a studio project, it was me, our singer Callan, and our singer Devon, because we have two singers. And I found guitarists. I was going to university. I found a guitarist that would help me, and we just sat down and did those in like a little rehearsal studio, did those songs together, and then Devon and Callan recorded the vocals with me in my house. And then for the actual Horror Edge album, we had a solid guitarist, is our current guitarist Lalo, and at that time we had a different bassist, and things didn't work out after the first show with him, so we ended up going, without a bassist for one show. We had we had like a session bassist working with us for a little bit, and then now we have Jacob, our current bassist, and now we have a second guitarist. So we're, as of now, we're 6 members, and just the growth from the beginning to now, musically, even just personally, like I can tell it's a lot. Like we definitely know what each other, would prefer in certain music styles, and how I think we like fit better together, I guess. Even listening to the songs that we're currently writing for our newer record coming out hopefully early next year, there's definitely a big change. And I think we've definitely matured by working with each other over this, last couple of years now.
How do you guys balance the two vocalists? Like say, okay, you take this part and I'm going to do this part. How do you guys keep the balance in and keep everything smooth? I know sometimes that's got to be a little hectic.
I think it usually depends on who's mainly writing the song, or like if I've written the lyrics, I'll have it in mind. Like, okay, well, Devon can do this one, Callan can do this one. So, for example, Callan's more of a black metal fan, so his songs kind of have that sound to them. So he'll, basically lead on the vocals on those songs that he's written, and Devon will do more of the backups or the, like Callan will tell him, okay, do this line or do it like this. They kind of structure it out together, whereas like Devon writes more of the hardcore songs, and same thing. He'll have like an idea for where Callan can do a certain, like a high or a low or whatever, and they make it work together really well. And then for me, like I said, if I'll just have it in mind, like, okay, well, both of you can do this at the same time, or you can do this or that or whatever,
What do you hope the fans take away from Horror Edge once they start listening to it, or just Jason Voorhees music in general? What do you hope that they get from it?
Ooh, I guess in particular with Horror Edge, the song, I mean, if you actually listen to the lyrics, it's kind of an anti-bullying song. Turned awry, kind of given that horror style. Mm-hmm. So with that one in particular, just, be good to each other. Everything is so hard right now, and, we're all in it together. I think that's really important. I think that's kind of a main ideal of like the hardcore scene and in the horror punk scene that I've noticed. It's a community, and I don't really expect ever to get famous off of the music, but I hope that people enjoy it, or have fun with it. They may not get it. They may not, ever even see us live or anything, because we probably won't tour, fingers crossed, maybe we will. But, just that they enjoy us and that they have fun with it,
I know you're playing in different bands, but what helps keep your mind fresh and open to new stuff and, not to make it stale for you guys, especially when you're in different bands? What helps you do that?
Definitely all of our musical influences. Like I said, I'm mainly the one into horror punk. Callan's into black metal. Devon's into hardcore and hip hop. Jake is into hardcore and like new metal. Like, Lalo's into, such and such. Like, everyone's into different styles, so we all bring different flavors to how we're playing and how we're going about seeing what we should play, and just, listening to different styles, getting influenced by different bands, different sounds, entirely. Like, I've always been influenced by like hip hop drums, which is ironic because I'm playing in punk bands and metal bands and things like that, where it doesn't really go together, I guess, quote unquote, but that's what I'm influenced by. And so, that kind of changes it a little bit. Or like, I enjoy playing surf music. So putting that into a metal song, like if you listen to our song Human Centipede off the Horror Edge album, there's like a bridge. It's a surf bridge, but it's done with metal over it. So things like that, just keeping the ideas rolling and being open to everything,
How much local support does Jason Voorhees get from via your local fans and plus venues and radio play? Let's talk about that a little bit, if any radio play.
As of right now, we haven't gotten any radio play. I've meant to send out songs, but the ones that personally I think would be good on the radio also have cuss words in them, so we'd have to censor it. And I mean, that's kind of a job in my opinion, so I don't really care enough to go ahead and do that. But I know for the next release, I'm going to definitely try and do that, because the songs will be, a little bit, in my opinion, they're better, and they'll be a little bit more, I guess, palatable for radio listeners, even if it's like on an underground metal station. But as for like local support, we have a good little following. I mean, it's not huge, but we played a house. So our last show was a house show, and I took video of it, but watching the crowd react to us was really cool, because we had this massive circle pit at this small house, this small garage show. And so things like that, that in my opinion shows where we're at. The people who enjoy us a lot. Like they'll mosh and they'll move. And, I don't care if there's 10 people watching us, if they're all moving, because 20 people watching us just standing still doesn't cut it for me. You know what I mean?
For sure. What can folks expect at a show from Jason Voorhees who have not got to see you guys yet live? Like I said,
if we're lucky and it's a perfect show, there'll be a lot of movement. It may look violent, but I know that everyone's there to, if you get hit, you're getting picked back up. Also, me personally, I really enjoy the theatrics. I'll wear a costume or I'll wear a mask. I'm hoping to build upon that a little bit more than we have been lately. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I said, like if you see us live, hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully you're not standing still. That's the point of what we're playing. All of our guys are moving around on stage, and like I said, there's 6 of us, so I would assume it looks a little overwhelming with a bunch of guys on stage moving around. So
I know this is the digital era that we're in right now. Do you like this? The digital era that we're in of recording albums, plus social media, getting everything out there quicker, and plus reaching fans that you never thought that you'd reach out to, especially band camps, things like that. Do you think, or do you like this that we're in right now?
Personally, I'm torn, because I have a big CD collection. I have a decent sized record collection. I even collect tapes.
Well, yeah.
So I personally like having physical copies because I like the artwork. I'm also an artist, and I think that's an important part of the medium. So digital is cool for more, accessibility, but me personally, if I really appreciate a band, I'll try and buy their album physically. So I've been DIY making our album, physical copies, and I've sold more of those than we have digitally, just because I think, at a show, it's easier to access. And then I think a lot of people appreciate that as well, because they'll see that we're putting the time into it, I would also like to eventually put out like a vinyl, maybe a 7-inch or something. I think that would be really cool. We've already put out a live tape recently, and I thought that went well too. So
what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Rick, that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
Oh, that's hard. So I started playing drums at 13. I'm 25 now. Oh, shoot. That's a question. I guess at the time, I mean, I was really affected by, impacted by music in my life. When I was in high school, was even middle school was really important to me. I don't think I ever planned on, you know, joining a band to play a bunch of shows or put out music. It was just to have fun. And it just went from there. You know, in high school, I was playing in bands that were not serious. We never played shows. We barely ever wrote music. And, but it was just a, you know, a group of friends getting together and hanging out. And I think that's what definitely sparked it. And then once I got a little older and became more serious and dedicated to it, it just grew from there. And I feel like you know, I'm not famous or anything, but I definitely feel like I've accomplished a lot so far.
Well, sure. Yeah, I agree with that because, man, you've got albums out. Mm-hmm. You've done a lot more than what some have even set out to do.
Yeah, so. Totally. And I definitely appreciate the ability to do that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I played music when I was in high school. That was our goal, to actually finally get a demo out, you know, or just an EP.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And we fell short. So what you're doing is totally awesome. I congratulate you guys on that because lots of bands, they just crumble, you know?
Thank you. Uh-huh.
Is there a country or maybe a state that has surprised you of the support you guys have gotten from, you know, being Jason Voorhees or anything like that possibly?
Well, I mean, I think it's, to me personally, and I think to the other guys, it's definitely just a surprise to get any support outside of California. So I've sent, you know, CDs and tapes to like someone in Michigan, or even just being on the phone with you on this show. You know, that's something that we didn't expect. And you know, like recently, I sent out a merch pack to someone in Washington State.
Nice.
And that's, you know, that's whatever support we can get is very appreciated, and still a little surprising because it's like, yeah, or at least for me, like I didn't intend on this to be anything more than just a demo that I had in my head, you know. So
sure,
it's definitely surprising that we've gotten any support, you know, at all. Like we have like Instagram support and people watching our videos and liking our posts and things like that. It's really, really cool. So
that's what I started this show out for, is to help local bands. And I said, you know, it doesn't matter if I have national bands or local bands. The main purpose of this is to get local bands out there a little bit further than what they can, because some they just don't have that in their area, and I hope I'm a little voice for those guys and gals.
Yeah, and that's really, really cool in my opinion. I really thank you for doing that, because that's definitely what's needed. And I know there's a lot of people like that in San Diego. It's just really hard because here there's, you know, a lot of different bands and a lot of, you know, good upcoming bands, and it's I don't want to say it's overwhelming because that's not really the word I'm looking for, but there's so much of it that it's hard to, you know, find or choose, or, you know, choose the right band, or even get into that, like to get into the quote unquote scene for it. Like, for example, because we're, you know, kind of a hybrid band, we mix in different sounds. We always find ourselves throwing our own shows rather than jumping on other bands' shows, because we may not be as palatable as like the next metalcore band or the next hardcore band. So I find myself throwing shows more than, you know, because it's really hard to get around within the music scene in general, you know.
There's two bands out there right now that I know that are horror punk bands, and they're really great. The Returners is one of them, and
yeah, we played with them. I'm actually we're hoping to record with their singer Rikk.
Oh, nice.
To record our next album with them.
And the other band is called the Graveyard Henchmen.
Oh, we played with them as well. We played, we recently played with Doyle up in Santa Ana, and they were one of the bands. They were the band right after us.
Now you guys have another show.
Both of those bands, they're all good guys.
Now you guys have another show that's going to come up here too, if I'm not mistaken. It's with Michael Graves coming up in October.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
We're pretty excited about that one. So me personally, I'm more of a Danzig fan, but I do appreciate Michael Graves, and I do really like those albums that he was on. Our bassist, Jake, is a huge Michael Graves fan. So we played that Doyle show with the Scurvy Kids. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
But they frequent the Whiskey A Go-Go a lot because, I mean, they're a good band. They have a really good following. And I was speaking with their manager, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, yeah, you know, I was going to ask you about it. I was going to see if there was any bands, you know, if you needed any more bands for it. And they hit up the promoter and got us on it. So it was really cool that they were able to do that for us. And So we're stoked. I think it's going to be a fun show. I think we're going to definitely go all out, especially because it's Halloween weekend. I think that if I'm not mistaken, because it's not 100% planned, but we're going to play that one. And then we may be playing a house show the day after as well for a Halloween show. So I think it's going to be a really packed weekend, and I'm really excited for it.
Well, I will just say this right now. Jason Voorhees has a home here on Uber City Radio and BODS Mayhem Hour for their music. So,
thank you.
How can folks stay in touch with you guys, pick up some merchandise, tour dates if you guys get to go on tour or whatever? How can they do that, Rick?
We do have an Instagram page. It's a little bit doozy, the name, but it's JASONxVOORHEES, HXC for Instagram. And then we have a Bandcamp page. It's bandcamp.com/JASONxVOORHEES. We also have a Facebook underneath the same name. Yeah, you can find us on any of those places. We will respond back if you want to talk to us. Aside from that, we have videos on YouTube underneath the same name as well. So you can find us on any of those places. Hopefully, with our next release, we will also be on iTunes and Spotify, etc. We're working on that right now.
Plus, they have their Bandcamp page, too, where you can pick some stuff up as well. Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Yeah. All right. This is Rikk Cavin, drummer of Jason Voorhees, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, John.